Hi, friends. Welcome back to our series where we, interview some of our portfolio co-founders, founders team. Welcome to 100x live sessions. Today, I have, a very dynamic entrepreneur with me, Santhosh from Dhiyo.ai. Santosh is based out of Bangalore, and we'll quickly chat with him a few things, on his experiences, journey with 100x, and even before that as well as after. So, Santosh, let's start with introducing yourself. Talk a little bit about yourself, your background, what were you doing before, and then how did the whole idea of Theo kind of strike you, and how did you take it forward? So just a little bit about your initial days of the journey, please. Thanks.
Sure. Sure. Thanks, Yagnesh. First, let me thank the 100x team and Yagnesh for giving us the opportunity to share and talk about Dhiyo. Basically about me, my name is Santhosh. I'm the founder and CEO of Dhiyo. I'm a native of Bangalore. I did my engineering here in Bangalore and then worked at Indian Institute of Science for a small time, and then moved to US to do my master's and MBA at University of Florida. There I worked at small startups and also large enterprises for almost 14 years. Then in 2012, I relocated or moved back to India to do my first startup. And then in that startup, I was able to kickstart the operations ground up, and able to ramp up the team to 375 people. And then in 2018 I took an exit, and at that time I was like trying to see what is that I can do next, and I was dabbling with few ideas. Then few things struck my mind, especially the hiring challenges I had. So while I was in my first startup, ramping up the team, there was a huge hiring challenge, especially hiring for the so-called blue collar or gray collar. Even though we didn't have too many folks to hire in that sector, but the challenges that it presented to us was immense, right? And then I was thinking about it for a while, and I really didn't do much. Then kind of fast forward in 2018, the whole vernacular conversational AI and the voice was kind of becoming popular. And I we also at the previous startup build innovation labs where we use some of these technologies. So I thought, how can we marry these two together where we can make an impact? Right. And then while driving in Ola, Uber cabs or talking to Swiggy folks, I was curious to know how they got their job. And invariably they said it's through their buddy network. They happen to ask their friend, and that's how they got the job. And I was like curious as to like, what about all the job portals out there? Why don't you use it? And they said it was hard. It was like English based, And then I thought, here is a problem that I can solve, and that's the how the idea of Dhiyo came into being.
No, I think it's very interesting what you shared with us, Santosh, and this whole issue that, and I think everyone has faced this whole issue of working around the job portals, and some of these vernacular guys not being able to really tap that opportunity that some of us elite people have. So I think it's a very good problem that you're solving, and you've chosen a very kind of interesting segment, vernacular conversational AI platform. I think this has been in the news recently, but that, to me it feels like there are more pain points than solutions. So which pain point are you actually trying to solve, and how is it that, can you tell us a little bit about the platform? How does somebody engage? What happens, and how does he actually find a job?
Sure, sure. So let me give a little background, right? Especially when I put some numbers, it will put things into perspective. So if you know, 92% of India's workforce is in unorganized sector. Basically, they are either blue, gray color, or any one of those flavors of it. And only and 50% of India's GDP is contributed by them. But only 1% will ever move to the next level, right? So they are kind of stuck wherever they are. And also all the ecosystem around them is all to get them right. So there are this middlemen, at least there are 5 layers of them who try to get a commission out of them, and then 80% of India doesn't speak English. So think about the problem. So it's quite immense. So that's the reason why they are not empowered. They're always dependent on somebody to not only get their first job, second, third, fourth job, right? So it's very hard. So what we thought was, why should a language be a barrier, or even technology be a barrier? So when I talk about technology, yes, these folks do use what I call low literate and low tech. They do use smartphones, but it's mainly for entertainment purpose, like maybe for TikTok or watching some videos. So that's about it. But when it comes to actual doing some transactions, they are not very adept at it. So we need to have not only a good technology which is very easy and seamless and intuitive, but also the language cannot be in English. Yes, there are certain platforms out there that have a flavor of vernacular, or they have multilingual touch to them, but it's not very intuitive. So that's where we brought in the three key ingredients, right? One is of course voice, then vernacular, which is multilingual, they can speak in their own language, and last but not least, the conversational AI. So we wanted to mimic the way they talk to their friends or buddies, and now people are very familiar with WhatsApp. So that's a whole conversational AI. So we wanted to bring these together and apply it to a pain point that these guys are facing. So definitely, as I told you, it's a very hard problem to solve. People have done this before, but only at the surface. But I can proudly say that we are India's first vernacular conversational voice AI platform to take a stab at this problem.
I think that was well defined. I've seen some of the solutions you're talking about, and with your platform, we've spoken to your customers, and they've really come back and said Dio really works. So the whole point is here that it really should work, right? So I'm glad you brought that up, and I mean, vernacular voice is the way forward, is what we feel. India being a large population of vernacular, I think it's a tremendous opportunity. But to tap the entire opportunity with such a lean team to start with, I think it must have been a big challenge for you. So let me bring this point up. And you are a single founder, Santosh. So I'm sure there may be challenges where you faced as a single founder, right from conception, ideation, to kind of getting the idea going, finding a good set of team guys to kind of work with. So at every stage, you must have faced challenges. And what are your thoughts about, even adding team members? How did you really go about it? And I mean, probably you have somebody, you didn't have anybody to bounce off your ideas with at most times, as most of the co-founders do. So what did you do in those situations? How did you really come across, overcame those challenges? I'd like to hear your perspective.
Sure. So yes, being a single co-founder, it's kind of hard and lonely, but I'm blessed with a wonderful team. I've had some team members who have been with me from day one, so I have been able to bounce off the ideas. So definitely, yes, it's hard, but as I mentioned, with the team and the technical expertise and other things, I'm really happy that we are able to come this far. But I'm still open to have a co-founder. It can come like from within the team or from outside. But yes, so it's been a wonderful journey. I don't have any regrets, but yes, I'm open to have a co-founder.
No, very good. I think I'm sure you'll find a co-founder soon, either within the team or maybe with your connections with our help. Of course, we're there to help you. So coming to 100x journey and your experience, we met you like last year sometime, and then I remember instantly were interested in kind of taking the deal further, and eventually we kind of did enter into a transaction. So tell us somewhat of your experiences with funds, including 100x that you were speaking to, for your initial seed investment. And then how did it go about? How was the experience? And post that, it's been about 6 months or so. How has been the experience post 100x, and how have been the journey for you?
Right. It's been great, Yagnesh. So 100x team has been very professional and friendly from day one. I still remember the day when I met Vatsal at NASCOM, and NASCOM did facilitate that connect with you. So thanks to them as well. the entire team of 100x, yourself, Shashank, Ninad, Vatsal, and of course Sanjay Bhai, right? And it's been a formidable force, not only in forging the industry connects, but also connecting with not only angel investors but big VCs. So this journey has been wonderful. So you have been more of mentors than investors. And with Sanjay, I mean, he is India's most active angel investor as per Inc 42. And the fact that he comes with, the experience investing in companies like OYO and Bauxite, definitely having somebody believe in our idea and product, it's a great thing. So thanks to 100x for all the things. And we're talking about the seed fund. It helped us immensely to kind of kickstart, and especially that belief and faith that as a startup, as our idea, it's a great validation, I would say.
Well, thanks. So coming to the current times, we are in these uncertain times, Santosh, and thankfully things are returning back to normal or so-called near normal, the new normal. Uh, how has that been impacting your business? We would like to know, and also uh, whether the sales cycle. You are in a pure B2B business, right? So how have things been turning out for you? How have your customers responded? How have you been in touch with them? What are you seeing on the ground? This is just for all the people who are probably into B2B businesses and are talking to customers. So kindly share your experience with what's been happening. How are you seeing? And also recently, are things really improving? Are the sales cycles again going back to normal? What's been the experience?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we were all stuck by COVID, right? Whether you're in India, US, whether everywhere in the world, COVID has been a game changer, especially for business and startups. It's made a huge impact, and it has impacted us as well. Of course, in a negative way. And there are horror stories of around 70% of startups winding up in next 3 months. So these are scary times for, especially for startups. But like Dhiyo has been able to get through this storm thanks to 100x and other advisors and mentors whom we are working with, and to our customers and the team especially. So they have been, we are all together in fighting this out. So it has gone decently well for us. Yes, there has been a downturn in terms of revenue and acquiring more users and customers, but I would say it's so important. So if there is any founder and other startups, I would say it's important to not give up, have that resolve to stay afloat, right? And next 3 to 6 months things will kind of start becoming normal, and whoever comes out of this with the head high, I guess it's a big accomplishment in a way. When it comes to like actual, like as a hiring platform, what Dhiyo is, it has, as you all know, employment sector has been impacted by COVID. And some numbers, the unemployment in India has gone from 8% to 25-26%, and around 140 million people have lost jobs during the lockdown. So this is a very grim situation. But you know what, when things get back to normal, these people want to find jobs. So that's where Dhiyo comes in. So we are there to help these folks, especially certain sectors like hospitality, travel. People have lost jobs, and it may take them like more than 1 or 2 years for these sectors to come back. But what do these people do? They have to go elsewhere. They have to find jobs in different sectors. So what we have done is, we have introduced some skilling modules where people can transition themselves from one profession to the other. So and also the whole concept of local jobs, right? And even our prime minister talked about local and vocal. So these are very relevant to us, and it's very important that we help people find jobs local, so that they don't travel across states and distances to get the job. So these are some of the things that we are doing to ensure people get jobs. But it's hard times,
Sure.
but I guess it's been it gives us that satisfaction to help people and bring that smile into a person's
Sure.
face when they do get a job.
Sure. No, I think it's a wonderful opportunity right now for companies like Dhiyo and those who are into this particular sector where we are already facing a huge unemployment problem, and what better solution there could be but to have a vernacular AI platform helping all these guys who are trying to look for their jobs. They are semi-skilled, unskilled labor force, and they really don't know how to find a job. So I think you guys will have a wonderful opportunity, what I feel. So coming to the the whole sector, conversational AI sector has been seeing a lot of activity lately. We saw Haptic launch their product for Geo. How is the overall space kind of looking to you, and what do you see as your prospects, the industry prospects in the near term and the medium term?
Right. It's definitely an exciting space, Yagnesh. What we have seen is a lot of companies have cropped up who are doing either voice, vernacular, conversation, or a mix of these, but applying to a certain sector which can create an impact is what we are looking at. So our use case has been how do we use these technologies to help uplift the folks at the bottom of the pyramid, folks, right? So just putting some numbers, in the last 3 years, the voice has been growing 270% in India, just the voice search, right? So that
Wow.
itself is a big thing. And then conversational AI is forecasted to grow at 31% for the next 5 years. So these are really exciting numbers that kind of push us and motivate. And it's been, and especially the Western world has already seen this technology mature, and the adoption has been great. But in India, we need to do some tweaks so that it suits the users here, right? So that's what we call as tech stack for Bharat. So these three things are really help the folks. So people like in our case, right? So if anybody is looking for the job, all that they have to do is download the Dhiyo app and say something like "मुझे मुंबई में ड्राइवर की नौकरियां दिखाओ," right? That's all it takes for them, and that's what they have been doing with their friends. And it shows a list of jobs, and people can apply. So it's a very conversational voice based. So that's the most natural thing that they do. They don't have to strive doing anything extra, and of course there is no dependency on the middleman. So that's what we are trying to do. We are not only using technology in the right way, but we're using technology in for the right sector, right, in the right
Sure.
context. So
Sure.
that's our USP, I would say.
Sure, sure. So, tell us a little bit about your current investor experience. I know that you're already trying to raise funds. You have made some commitments also along the way. One question some of our audiences may want to know is how has been your investor experience before and then during COVID and now after COVID? What are you seeing investors' expectations? Are they kind of trying to beat you down on expectations, or they are taking it on face value? What are the kind of questions you're seeing from investors? I mean, any tips here for founders who are aspiring to raise funds post COVID?
So we have been in the whole fundraising for close to 8 to 10 months now, and 100x did give us a seed fund. But the way things were when it comes to fundraising before COVID and after COVID, it has changed. So now the investors are more wary. They are more, the diligence or due diligence they do to evaluate a particular startup is lot more. And then it's not that it's end of the road, right? They're still, I'm able to talk to many of them in the last 3 to 4 months, but things may not be that easy. You have to strive a little harder, and most important is follow up. You have to show that there are certain businesses, especially there are certain businesses like Zoom did really well in the last 3 months because of anything to do with online education that's been gaining popularity. So there are certain sectors that are really booming. So if you are in those sectors, and if you find the right investors, things are coming. So I hear from my friends a lot of deals are getting closed, and people are able to raise funds. So it's not end of the road, and I'm happy to say that we are in the midst of closing the round as well. We are lucky,
Wonderful.
and also we never gave up, right? So thanks to 100x, you guys had a global pitch day where our idea was presented to a lot of investors, not only in India but across the world. So these have really helped us to raise the funds.
No, yeah, no, and all the best for your fundraise, Santosh. And let me come to one more relevant question that we've been toying with. What is the push that you are seeing from government agencies? You saw the whole, package that came across. The whole MSME, kind of sector is buzzing, and there's some packages that are doled out. So, what are your expectations going forward post COVID? And are there any suggestions you are seeing that the government agencies should do, or that can help inefficiencies or leakages that exist right now?
Yeah, I mean, government is facing battles like on multiple fronts, right? Not only fighting with COVID, there is economic, and now there are other, border disputes that are kind of popping up. Yes, these are really hard times, and I would say when it comes to like the whole helping the startups, the government has been doing good. I heard, especially for MSMEs, the loans are that these guys can avail loans, interest free loans for certain duration. But what I believe is for especially startups that got started in the last 1 or 2 years, things are not that easy because you need to have a certain history to avail these loans. So again, I would say if even the government can look at the recent startups that have not been there for like last 5 years, and if there is any benefit, I would say that's something that the government can do. And then even we ourselves have been working with other government agencies, not for raising funds, but partnerships. So we are working with NSDC, National Skill Development Corporation, and other NGOs who are catering to the rural folks and the blue collar workforce that we are targeting. So these partnerships are very important for us to succeed. So one is of course the monetization aspect, but there is real help that a startup like us can provide. So they need to I would say encourage and open up channels for us to do business with government.
Well, yeah, I really hope government kind of support that is coming around to MSMEs really reaches the audience, right audience, the stakeholders, and they kind of come up to the challenge, and all this helps the BPL people as well as those who are struggling. So and you guys are doing a good job on this. So lastly, we kind of almost running out of time. Just have a last couple of minutes. So. Uh, Santosh, lastly, few words of advice to our budding founders, who are at the stage where, let's say, you were a year back. So, what's your that couple of messages, and what is it that you would like to, leave your last thoughts with?
Right. So, what I would say is, especially for people who are having an idea, but this is, I would say, the right time because there are so many pain points and problems to solve. All that you have to do is just think about an idea that can really have an impact and build a quick MVP or prototype. Right? Just don't ideate, just don't sit on it. If you think about something, bring it to manifest it, like start implementing. So that's very very important. And even raising funds, yes, it may, if you just go knock on the door of an investor now, they may or may not invest. So this is the whole startup is not a sprint, right? It's a marathon. You need to have the patience, you need to have the perseverance and diligence to be in this for a long time, right? When I say long time, it just, you cannot see things happen in the 1 or 2 years. It's a 3 to 5 year game at least, or maybe more. So these are some of the things I would say. And it's important to be positive, right, and not have a defeatist mindset. So this really brings you down. So think the brighter side of things, and when it comes to following up, whether it is with the customers or the investors, you have to be like overly optimistic, and I would say hopelessly shameless, right? So you have to go talk to them and ask for things. Otherwise nobody would come and put a platter on your lap. So yeah, so I would just say be positive and And one thing that I remember, that there is a quote. It says, "Don't worry about failure. You only have to be right once." Right. So this is the Dropbox founder said. So all that it takes is just one right thing to do. Right. So you just do the one right thing, and you'll be up there with the big folks.
No, I think very well said, Santosh. That was a brilliant, last minute quote. You just have to be right just once, so don't give up. And I think it's a brilliant idea. I know all the founders are going to be terribly worried about the COVID situation, but your words of wisdom are very useful. And again, Santosh, thank you for joining us in this conversation today. Again, wish you all the best for your fundraise and your future journey with us.
Thanks, Agnesh. Thanks, 100X team, for this opportunity. Thank you.
All right, take care.